What's up guys, Registry here. So before Demon Slayer starts up tomorrow, I figured I'd speak about some of the rapid technological changes that's been going on in the world recently, and how it mainly affects anime in particular. This video is kind of unstructured and loosely scripted compared to my usual videos, but I figured I'd just speak about what's on my mind because I feel like this is something that affects the industry for years to come. AI is a pretty big pack of worms to open so early on though, so let's talk about CGI first. Now, first and foremost, for those of you who have seen my previous videos, you might have noticed that over time I've become quite the advocate for CGI in anime actually. Because the way I see it, as long as it's being used as a tool and not a crutch, all's fine and good, but I've been getting a little angsty recently because I've noticed that its implementation has started to shift a little bit. Some might even go so far as to say they've seen CGI being used less and less over the years, but if it's one thing that Chainsaw Man has taught us, it's that CGI has gotten harder and harder to identify as of late. It isn't due to a lack of productivity though, it takes a good deal of effort to set all this up, and just plain makes more sense to invest in to achieve complex shots in a more reasonable time frame. However, that doesn't really change the fact that I think anime should still be a 2D medium first and foremost, but really, if 3D work comes to the point where it becomes completely indistinguishable from 2D work, it's kinda hard to tell if that stance can still be considered justified. Now, I'm sure many of you are thinking, there's no way in hell that could happen, but if there's one thing a global pandemic has taught us, it's that nothing in this world is impossible. Heck, there was a point in my life where I thought it would be impossible to take the TV on the go, let alone have an AI answer any question we might have for it. But here we are. The time of sci-fi is now continually at our doorstep, which kind of brings us into AI, I guess. Now, I know this topic sparks a lot of philosophical questions for the world as a whole, but let's talk mainly about how this affects anime. I'm sure many of you are no stranger to AI art by this point and how it creates works that rival some of the best artists. A scary notion because, in my opinion, human creativity is one of our best traits. Now, after saying that, I'm sure the first thought that many people jump to is that AI can only create art thanks to the enormous database of already existing artwork to reference from, and that's what sets us apart from it. But really, that's kind of what makes us so similar, because all good artwork is a result of some other good artwork. How else would artists learn if not by observing those who are better than them? Now, sure, I'm oversimplifying the process AI takes to get this stuff out, and sure enough, AI eyes can also be a finger or two short of becoming solid artists in their own right, but that's just right now. Imagine what it could achieve in just a couple more years' time. And the first thing that my mind always goes to is animation. Now, people might call me crazy for even suggesting that AI could ever animate something 100% by itself, because, well, right now, consistency between frames isn't exactly AI's strong suit, but I wouldn't underestimate what it could eventually be capable of. Animation studios certainly aren't, because they're already looking into the applications of AI, and one of those studios is actually working on a show that's airing this season, and that show is called Hell's Paradise. A show that many people have been asking me to cover in full, which likely won't happen, but I have been doing my research on this show off the books. More specifically, I've been doing research on the opening, because while MAPPA is overseeing the entire production, there are 3 separate studios that did the opening. These studios are called Studio Sankaku, Studio Jito, and Studio Kwazula. Probably didn't pronounce that right at all. It's probably more like koala or something, but really, I'm just going to be looking at this studio because this is the main studio that's been most open about experimental AI. If Kwazula sounds familiar, then props to you because I mentioned them in my top 12 Chainsaw Man endings video. They, along with the other 2 studios I mentioned, also worked on ending 11, and from just some behind-the-scenes footage that they released, it's clear to see just how unique the construction of that project was. For a lot of people, the construction of this ending felt strange in a way that was kinda hard to put your finger on, but in the Hell's Paradise opening, it's obvious that the studio has gotten a much better grasp of the application of their technologies. And now, of course, I'm not so dumb as to say that an AI made this entire opening. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't misconstrue that. If AI is being used at all right now, it's probably for more basic uses of streamlining workflow. But only the studio would really know for sure. See, I'm concerned about its replacement for human talent, but as of this current point in time, it seems like just getting this stuff up and running and keeping it semi-consistent for workflow isn't that simple of a feat. True enough, we are still early on, and it'll take a while for this stuff to get fully standardized, but one can only hope that when we reach that point, it'll be in a sweet spot of just being enough to take off the load of the animators without fully replacing them. And for Studio Koala, that kind of seems to be their goal. According to Septenny Holdings back in 2021, one of their uses of AI was to assist in character design generation, something that, in the current year, AI should be perfectly capable of, but in their on-the-surface valiant attempts to keep people from working themselves to death, I still very well think it could be taken too far for the sake of efficiency and lowering costs further into the future. Many people are no stranger to the fact that the anime industry has over the course of many decades cut corners to the detriment of animators, but after Chainsaw Man, it's become kind of clear that a new shift is starting to take place here. Maybe not so much on the work-life balance side of things, but I'm talking more in regards to CGI here. Because while it has been used for ease of use and time-saving purposes, the challenges that the Chainsaw Man 3D team had to face were complex problems that needed a lot of work to solve as to fully reach the high standards of the show. So in a perfect world, it's my hope that AI tries to seek out the balance that CGI kind of tries to aim for. One that sets a very nice balance of work and automation without going too far in either direction. Though that thought might be a little too naive, especially since some people have already brought the automation of AI to a point that I think is a little too far. Mainly I'm talking about Corridor Digital's video, where they recreate the anime aesthetic from live action footage. Sure, it may have taken them a decent amount of time to figure it out, but in the end, the AI just did the brunt of the work anyways, which in my mind diminishes the overall value of the project. Again, just my opinion. But at the same time, it's also my opinion that it's important to try new things, even for a medium as traditional as 2D art. After all, anime switching to digital way back when provided some major benefits for workflow and also gave us the sort of compositing that we take for granted today. Heck, nowadays even fully 3D anime have solid traits of their own worth praising, one of which actually aired last season, and I can confidently say it's the best 3D anime I've ever seen. Like Koala, who's experimented with AI, Studio Orange has been testing the limits of CGI and anime seriously for about 10 years now, and their hard work really shows. A lot of CGI studios tend to gradually lean toward video games or some other sort of Pixar-esque aesthetical work, but this studio has been pretty steadfast in trying to make the anime aesthetic work. Okay, well, truth be told, the work I'm talking about, Trigun Stampede, does have some Pixar-esque qualities with its jumpy over-exaggerations, but just the right amount of it seems to work pretty well, especially considering the original series had some pretty Looney Tunes-like theming of its own, but it still also gracefully incorporated the undertone of its seriousness. So yeah, I guess it really does depend on the project, but since their major breakthrough show, Land of the Lustrous, it's become clear that this studio still has a lot to learn and share with the world. And man, am I glad they're sharing, because the fight in the last episode was the best fight sequence of last season, and possibly the whole year as far as I'm concerned. This show is pretty underlooked, but like Ufotable, they know how to choose the perfect projects to work on. Trigun Stampede actually encouraged me to rewatch my favorite animated movie of all time, Spiderman Into the Spiderverse. Now that's a movie that deserves an offhand mention. The way it's done on twos, the way it incorporates Ben-Day dots and paneling, for how that movie expertly recreates the comic book feel, I could write a whole video just for that movie alone, but I've already gone off track enough. I guess the main reason I'm making this video is to bring to the attention of people that CGI and more recently AI are gonna be a real thing going forward in this traditionally 2D space, and the three of them are just gonna have to find a way to coexist. Hopefully while also taking in the systemic issues these Japanese industries have faced regarding the health of their employees. I don't know, maybe that's asking too much, but one thing is for sure, things are gonna start moving at a rapid pace from here on out, and all we can do is just hope for the best. But really, I'm curious on what you guys think. Do you think AI is gonna be a real threat going forward to the anime industry, or do you think it's just gonna be a couple of growing pains and that's it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's start up a conversation here. I'm very interested to know what you guys think regarding this matter, and, well, hopefully everything just kind of works out. But we'll see. Well, thanks for listening to this little unorthodox video of mine, and, well, once again, this is Registry, signing off. See you soon, guys.